Welcome back to On the Hunt for Fun. We're excited to launch our new series, The Spirit of Adventure, where we interview fellow adventurers and travel pros who inspire us to explore more. Let's jump in.
Hey friends, we're here today in Monterey, Tennessee with Joey Isabell of Picture This Travel. He leads international trips. We go way back. We went to high school together.
Right over there.
Right over there. We were pretty good buds, I think, and as I remember correctly. And so we're here today to get into his spirit of travel and adventure and find out more about his international trips. What do you think, Joey?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Anytime I get an opportunity to not only to catch up with an old friend and meet his lovely wife, but we get a chance to talk about travel, which is really my passion. So I'm happy to be here and looking forward to it. Yeah.
And we're really hoping to really dig into why he travels and what his passion of travel is. Because, we have a passion for travel and adventure. We want to hear someone that does it internationally. And we're really hoping to go out with him in the future, as soon as life and everything intersects, and we can do that.
That sounds great.
So what first got you into leading international trips?
Well, you probably remember, you and I had a teacher in high school at Monterey High School. Her name was Peggy Frigopoulos, and she was a teacher here in Monterey for many years. And when she first arrived here to teach at Monterey High School, she started once a year, she would get a group of students together and take them to Europe, which way back then, the thoughts of going to Europe was just so unbelievable. I mean, it seemed unachievable. So I could never really afford to go while we were in high school, but I caught up with her about 5 or 6 years after after I graduated. I'm a year older than him. And she asked me to go on her trip for that year. And I said, well, I thought they were just for students. And she said, not anymore. Anybody can go. So I went, and I thought this will be my once in a lifetime. Well, boy, was I wrong. Between 1994 and 2005, I went on 8 trips with her. And toward the end of that period, I was already plotting out how I was going to start doing this myself, doing something similar but slightly different than what she does. And it took me a while. It took me a good long while to get it together and actually step out in faith and start Picture This Travel. And it started really small. The first trip I took was one person, and then it's just kind of slowly gained momentum. And next year, in 2026, I plan on taking 5 international trips.
So Joey, one big question that we have for you is, what would you recommend as a first destination for a new traveler?
That's a good question. I have recommended in the past for people who are really concerned about the possibility of culture shock, that maybe their first international trip would be Ireland. Ireland is great. It's beautiful. Plenty of cool things to do. Good food. All the Guinness and Smithwick's and all that good stuff. But everything's in English. So there's a lot less, the comfort zone is much bigger for those folks. England would also qualify for that. Scotland, the British Isles is probably what I would recommend for the first-time traveler. If you're a little more adventurous, then hey, wherever. But I have plenty of, almost every single trip I put together and guide, we have at least a couple of first-time international travelers. And I've been blessed. They've all been really great.
Well, I've been to Ireland, and I totally agree. It was the most welcoming place I've ever
Absolutely.
been. And the Irish people were just so friendly,
Yes.
and there was a lot of Guinness and a lot of Smithwick's, and there was pubs on every corner.
Yes.
And when I went, I got to meet the sheriff of Belfast.
Okay.
And in a room, apparently it was a room where all the national dignitaries had been, and so they hosted my Auburn trip group.
Very cool.
We were getting our MBA, and that was amazing. So when they asked for someone to speak, I jumped up and spoke. And everybody's kind of like, oh, Dave's speaking. So
sounds like me. Anytime somebody says, hey, do you want to say something? I'm the first guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Joey, we got a bunch of questions for you today. And one of them is, what do you think about first when planning the trip? Logistics, etc. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's really big on that?
That's a great question. The first thing I think about is the timing, because I want to give every trip the best opportunity for it to be successful. I want to. If I plan a great trip, but it's at the wrong time of the year, nobody's going to sign up. So to give you an example, next year in 2026, I'm planning a trip to Scotland for October. So I have scheduled it during what is fall break for the local school system. That will give more people are free and taking vacations anyway during that time of the fall. So they'll have a great opportunity to go with us on the trip. Not just teachers, but students, parents, anybody. I guess the second thing I think about is destination, because I don't want to repeat them. There's a temptation if a trip is really good, a destination is really good, and a lot of people sign up. There's a temptation to repeat it too often, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to wear them out. So back in March we did Ireland, and I had, I think, 31 people. But the last time I did Ireland was almost 4 years prior to that, and I'm afraid if I do Ireland too close together, or Greece is another example. I just got back from Greece about a month ago. That's always a destination that a lot of people sign up for. It's popular, and I don't want to repeat them too close together. So that's probably the second thing I think about. And then there'll be a recurring theme in this video. I'm going to be talking about food a lot. So someplace with really good food.
Now, do you take in the account the best time to visit the place? How does that kind of factor in?
Well, one of my main goals at Picture This Travel is to keep the price as reasonable as possible. There are some fabulous trips out there that are just super expensive, and that's not what I'm trying to offer. So a lot of my trips are in what they call shoulder season. It's not the June through August, the main tourist season for Europe. Most of my trips are Europe. And it's not only more crowded then, but it's also a lot more expensive then. So I'm trying to do the shoulder season where the weather is still relatively good, but the price comes way down. On a lot of group tours, a lot of the cost that is incurred by the passengers is to pay their guide. Well, in these trips, the ones that I put together, I'm the guide. So that cost is cut off immediately. They don't have, they don't have that, and it keeps it helps me to keep the price reasonable.
Well, I follow you on Facebook, and I've noticed there's a lot of repeat customers on there, and to me, that's a testament of your trips. So,
well, I have been really blessed with that. When I first started this, I had no idea. I never thought about it, that I would have so many repeat customers. I probably should have assumed that I would have some, but I keep I love Excel spreadsheets. So I keep a spreadsheet of every person who's ever traveled with me. And then if they're a repeat customer, then how many trips they've been on. I've taken 130 different people on international trips, and 39 of those are repeat customers. So I was blown away by that when I actually put it on the computer and actually was able to see it, exactly how many of them are repeat customers. I've got a couple that live in Baxter, down in the western end of this county. They've been on 7 trips. Hi, David. Hi, Nelda. Another lady, Carol, she's been on 6 trips. It's just amazing.
That is. I think that's a true testament of people liking you and liking your trips, and like you said, affordability. Yeah, that's big. So, Joey, another question. What have you learned about yourself while doing these international trips?
Well, there's a famous poem, and I apologize for not knowing the name of it or who wrote it, but I remember this little snippet. It says, "If you can keep your head while all those around you are losing theirs." And I think that's probably what I've learned the most about me, because every trip has at least one small snafu. Sometimes they're bigger, but being able to stay calm and handle each situation as it comes. Airports and airlines are kind of like the needle in my side sometimes. a person who travels with me quite a bit. His famous quote is, "The worst part about travel is the travel." The physically getting from one place to the other is the worst part of it, and sometimes that's very true.
So that kind of leads me to my next question. What's one of the biggest like hiccups or
oh, wow.
something like that?
We've had a few. I've had some illness. I've had some injuries. But the biggest one was in early December of 2023. I took a group to Bavaria, to Munich, for Christmas markets. And the day we arrived, beautiful. The next day, light snow. All the Christmas markets were magical. It just looked like Christmas. Overnight that night and early the next morning, it snowed 18 inches. It snowed an actual 1.5 feet. It was the biggest snow they'd had in 30 years and shut the whole city down. So all of our planned excursions were canceled because no buses were moving, no trains were moving. And we just made the best of it. Luckily, they kept the Christmas markets open. We just had to walk to all of them. And a lot of restaurants were still open, but the streets were unbelievably covered in snow. And then as people walked, it all got packed down into about that much ice. So it was a skating rink everywhere you went. And I was the one who had to slip and fall and break my tailbone.
Ow!
That plane ride home was a lot of fun.
That sounds like a big hiccup, actually. So, Joey, next question. When you take people on trips, what do you hope for them to gain by going international trips with you?
I hope that it will broaden their horizons, especially those that have never been outside the United States. I talk to so many people about travel, and even still in 2025, I find that there are tons of people that just have no interest in it, or they're, I don't know if it's a fear or if it's just they're so hoorah American that they just don't want to leave the borders of this country ever in their life. I don't know exactly what it is, and it may be a different reason for everyone. But what I hope is that they will go and find what I have found, that going to these places and enjoying the beauty and the history and the food, and you come home and you appreciate home even more. That's what I hope they find. But what they definitely find is, and this happens all the time, people will go on my trips, they'll sign up from different walks of life. They don't know each other at all. And by the time we get home, a week or 10 days later, they're friends for life. It tickles me that I'll see a past traveler post something on social media, and then someone from that same trip will comment on their post or like their post. And I know in here that those two people would have never met. Maybe they would have never met had it not been for the trip they signed up for. And that kind of makes the whole thing worth it.
Well, I think you just did the perfect analogy about travel, too, is that people in other countries, they're not as really as far from us as we think they are. That's right. It's the same way in our country. Northerners think Southerners a certain way, and Southerners think Northern other ways, and people from the West. I think we all are a lot more similar, in the core.
And, like I said earlier, my main focus has been Europe, just because that's what I'm most interested in. And I don't think a lot of people realize just how small some of those countries are. A lot of them are at the same size or even smaller than some of our states. I can get in the car and drive 15 hours or whatever west and get out, and I'm still in the same country, still speaking the same language. If I did that in Europe, I will have passed through 6 countries with 6 different languages and possibly different currencies. So, and 6 different cultures. It's just unbelievable. Yeah.
That is amazing. I think that really sums up the spirit of travel, the spirit of adventure, going out and meeting.
Adventure, that's the word. Busting out of your comfort zone. And somebody told me many, many years ago, they've got the same things over there that we've got here. It's just the packaging looks different.
That's true. That is so true.
What really got me interested in travel in the first place is history. I visited a church last year that was built in the year, it was started in the year 1080. You know what was here in 1080? Dirt. That's it. We just don't have anything like that here. And I love that.
That is amazing. I think that's what draws us to that too. You know, we don't get to do the big trips like we would like to, just because we got kids and family and grandkids. But we do it in a microcosm. You know, we do these little small weekend trips.
Sure.
But we still want to do these big trips too. And I think it all comes down to that spirit of adventure. It's like being willing to step out. You know, let's go. You know,
right.
One of my last motivational videos is "Let's go." You know, and we want.
Yes.
That's what I love about. I'm so glad that you were just so excited about doing this, because it's like you have a different spirit of adventure than I do. But you know what? There's still the same spirit of adventure.
That's right. The only difference is the destinations. And yeah, absolutely, you're right.
That's awesome.
There's nothing like travel to bring people together.
Oh, and I like that. I like that. So, another question. We got a bunch for you today.
That's
really
right. Appreciate
you being here, man. This has been such a
I love it. Absolutely.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, what's one of the hardest things to deal with when you do international trips, especially things that people don't know that you have to deal with?
Well, that's a good question. I guess probably the most, I don't want to say difficult, the most time-consuming, the one that requires a real detail to attention, is making sure that every person gets booked for every single thing they paid for. So going through each reservation with a fine-tooth comb, I don't, I book the air, the hotel, train tickets, generally with the same booking company, but the excursions, like if we do a day trip, I'll book those sometimes with a different company, or maybe 2 or 3 different companies. And I want to make sure that every person's reservations are exactly like everybody else's. Sometimes that's, when it comes to the flights, that's not possible. And I'll tell you what I mean. Depending upon when people sign up. I had a nightmare scenario a few years ago where I had this trip out and people were signing up, and then about 2 months before about 2 months before it was time to actually make the bookings, I checked the price one day just to make sure it was still the same, and it wasn't. It was almost $1,000 more. So I had to go back to all those people and say, hey, I need more money. But a lot of them just wanted a refund, and I understand that. I mean, it was out of my control, and I hated that they didn't get to go. But so now, when people sign up, I generally try to book them as soon as possible. That way they get the price that I promised. And then let's say I book the first 8 people, and then 2 weeks later somebody else signs up. I'll book them immediately. And I cannot, most of the time I can, but I can't always get them on the same flights as those original 8. Everybody has been incredibly understanding about that so far. The other thing I think is, it doesn't happen to me much, but sometimes there's a little bit of noticing everybody's different personalities when it comes to the travelers. You know, some people have been everywhere under the sun. Some people, this is their very first trip. Some people get along great with anybody. Some people don't. Like I say, I haven't had a lot of issues with that, but occasionally you get somebody that's just surly, you know. When I first started doing this, I would try to take a little time to explain the whole process of what's going to happen once we land in a foreign country. The passport control, the customs, the claiming your bags, everything like that. And I used to explain it in detail. But every time I would do that, they would change it. So I just stopped. I said, here's roughly what's going to happen. I don't know what order it's all going to happen in. And now they're changing it again. Here in about a week or 10 days, Europe is no longer going to stamp your passport. In EU countries, you're not going to get a passport stamp. You're just going to walk up and insert your passport. It's going to take your picture. And welcome to Poland, or wherever you're at. So that'll be a bummer. You don't have all the passport stamps anymore from those countries. But that's probably been, I have people look at me in those airports and say, I thought you said we were going to do A, B, and C. And I said, sorry, we did C, A, and then B.
Well, I got a question from back from the beginning. You were talking about excursions. Now, does everybody do the same excursions? Or is there like an a la carte system kind of thing when you're in a city?
I've done both.
Okay.
I've offered it both ways. Generally, everybody does the same ones. But anytime I have one, people are welcome to opt out. I tell everybody who travels with me, this is your vacation. It's not mine. If you want to fly with us and stay in our hotel, but I never see you again until the day we come back, that's fine. It's your vacation. If you just want to use my affordable airfare and hotel and do your own thing, it doesn't bother me. Just let me know. That way I'm not looking for you. And then I have offered optional excursions. The Northern Italy trip I'm doing in March of next year, there's an optional excursion one day. You can either choose to add it or not.
And what is that excursion?
It is the Bernina train that goes from outside of Milan up to San Moritz in Switzerland. One of the most scenic train rides in the world. They say it is the most scenic train ride, but I think that's probably in the eye of the beholder. I've never done it, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. But the reason I asked that is because when I went to Ireland with my NBA crew, on our last day, it was our free day. We could either go play golf or we can go on the Game of Thrones tour.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So we did that, and the guy who led the tour was actually in Game of Thrones. And so when he took us to the spot, he had his iPad, and he had big photos, and he would show us what happened there. Oh, he was amazing.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
So
that's probably one of those that's fun, even if you haven't seen much of the show.
Yeah, it was. So, Joey, is there a destination that's often overlooked and that people are intimidated to go to that you really suggest they should go to?
Oh, yeah. Now, this may sound a little odd, but because it's not a place that's on many people's bucket list of European destinations, but Poland is out of this world. I've been there twice. As a matter of fact, I'm leaving again in about 15 days. I'm going by myself this time to scout out some other cities that I've not been to in Poland to see if it's a place I want to take a big group to in a year or two. Krakow, the old capital of Poland. I know Warsaw is the capital now, but Krakow is a beautiful city. Didn't get a ton of damage during World War II. I know Warsaw was almost completely destroyed, but Krakow is a beautiful city. Similar to Prague, if you're familiar with Prague at all, similar architecture, beautiful churches, great food. Polish food is out of this world. But coming up here shortly, I'm going to also not only be doing Krakow, but I'm going to be going to Wrocław. If I spell that for you, it will not look like Wrocław, but I'm pronouncing it correctly. And then I'm going to be going to Poznan, also the third largest city in Poland. But it is a great place. I highly recommend it.
Well, since you kind of brought that up, that is one of those destinations you just don't think about. But how do you balance those must-see places with like off the beaten path places?
Well, when I first started putting these trips together, I had too much structure in the trip. I tried to have something that was included every day of the trip, and it was just too much. It became too much for the passengers. So I don't know if it's a knee-jerk reaction, but my reaction was to go like 180 degrees where it was totally wide open. They had tons of free time and very little included. But I think now I have found a pretty happy medium of offering excursions to see the really well-known, the must-see sites. I try to offer a walking tour in every city that we go to with a local guide. That way they get to see, with a great explanation from a local, all the important stuff in that city. And then they still have a good amount of free time to do as they wish. Because like I mentioned earlier, it's their vacation, not mine. And I hope they will use that free time to to search out something that they find interesting and go do that thing.
Well, that's neat, man. I didn't realize that, but that's really great to hear. Okay, here's the big question. Something that's close to both of our hearts and our stomachs. What are the top 3 places for foodies? What's the best place to get food?
Well, you can take one look at me and tell that I really enjoy the food here, wherever I go. It's at the top of my mind a lot of times. But as far as the places I've been, I'd say it's got to be Greece, Italy, and probably Germany. I love German food. I know it's Oktoberfest season in a lot of places here. Schnitzel and I love all that stuff. You can't really go wrong. But there is something delicious to be found everywhere. I have a lady who she wants to go on my trip so badly. She talked about she loves iced coffee. I said, they have iced coffee everywhere. Just come be with us. Great coffee, great pastry, wonderful food. A few years ago, I took a group to Rome, and which is known for wonderful food. And for some reason, I didn't plan it this way, but for some reason, I decided I was going to go on the lasagna tour of Rome. So everywhere we ate, I was trying lasagna, just to see who had the best one. And they were all amazing. There's no way I could say this one was better than that one. They were just all great.
I don't think you can go wrong with that kind of tour. That's my kind of tour, absolutely. Okay, Joey, here's the lightning round. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. Window seat or aisle seat?
Aisle seat. Yeah, I'm a big boy. I need a little elbow room on one side at least.
I get it. What's your go-to airport snack?
Here lately, it's been those little protein packs, nuts and cheese and meat, zero carb kind of thing.
Oh, yummy.
Yeah.
Big city energy or small town charm?
I like them both, but I think big city energy. That seems to be where most of the cool things to see are anyway.
Gotcha. Most unusual food you've tried on a trip?
Wow. In Poland, in some restaurants with local food, they'll bring you bread, but instead of butter, it's lard. And sometimes it's got onions on it, stuff like that, but it's just pure lard on toast.
Is it good?
I ate a little of it. I'm not going to say it was good.
Okay. What's one thing that when you travel you must have?
Oh, definitely power adapters and charging cords. I made the mistake of leaving on a trip once without the charging cord for my phone. And even though they might be relatively affordable here, in Europe, not so much. Those charging cords for iPhones or Android phones, their cell service is extremely affordable, but the charging cord is out of this world.
Oh, gosh. If you could lead a trip anywhere tomorrow, where would it be?
Russia, definitely. I became fascinated with Imperial Russia when I was in a college history class, the Romanov family and all that. In particular, St. Petersburg, and I guess Moscow too. The rest of the country, not so much, but St. Petersburg I have been fascinated with forever. It's beautiful. I just wish they'd get their act together over there and make it. Americans can still go to Russia, but there's 100 hoops you have to jump through to make it happen.
What's your favorite way to learn a new culture? Food, music, or something that's personal to you? I'm still a guidebook person. I like to hold it and read it and all that. But YouTube, the platform that we're on right now, YouTube, there's a YouTube video for every destination in the world, every kind of travel. You can find something about it on YouTube. So that's generally my go-to, especially if it's a place I've never been to before. It's a great way to learn about a place and find out what is the important things to go see. Okay, Joey, last question. I hear a little bird told me that you have a travel-related hobby. That's true, and it's probably going to sound odd to you or to people who might be watching this. I am a member of the Extra Miler Club, okay? The Extra Miler Club is a group of intrepid individuals whose goal is to visit every county in the United States. There's a lot of people you might run into that have been to all 50 states, but
you won't find many people that have been to every single county or county equivalent, because some states don't call them counties. Like in Louisiana, they're called parishes, for example. But to go to every county or equivalent in the United States, there's 3,100 and some odd, and I am 65% of the way done.
Wow.
And if I live long enough, I hope to finish someday. So,
I think you can do it if you're already 65.
if you can honestly say that you have seen America if you've been to every county in the United States. And you can also say that you've wasted more gas than anybody you know.
That's awesome. That's a great hobby, especially for someone like you, man.
Yeah.
So, Joey, as we wrap this up, man, we really appreciate all you taking the time to this. We really had a blast. This has been a lot of fun. So is there anything you can think of that we didn't ask or you'd like to tell us about?
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say how thankful I am that you guys invited me to come and be a part of your channel. And anytime I get the opportunity to talk about travel, I'm going to take it. I spoke just a few months ago here at the Senior Citizen Center in Monterey. They let me come in and talk about my upcoming trips, and we got a traveler out of that, a lady who's going to go on my trip to Italy in the spring. But I guess the main thing I would like to say is to find my page on Facebook. It's Picture This Travel, and give us a follow. The thing that has, more than anything, the thing that has helped me do well at this is word of mouth. People who see my posts and share them. Coming up in the new year, my hope, knock on wood, is to start a website, because as of right now, the only two ways that I have of getting the word out about future trips is Facebook and people talking to each other. So I hope to be online soon. We'll see how that goes. It's a learning process for me. But find my page and give me a follow. That way, every time I talk about a trip or post about it, it'll show up in your Facebook feed. And then you can see if that trip might be for you. Or if you'd be so kind as to share it, that would be unbelievable. Because you remember that old, was it a shampoo commercial from when we were kids? I think it was a shampoo commercial. It said, I told two friends, and they told two friends.
Yeah.
And before you know it, 1,000 people have heard about this trip, and that seems to be the way. The other thing that I would like to say is I have tried my best since 2019 is really when this got going. When I gave it a name. Mm-hmm. I had been traveling before that, but in 2019 I gave it a name, Picture This Travel. And since then, my goal is to run it less like a business and more like a group of friends that are going on vacation together. Because when we come home, I think maybe that's how I have had so many repeat travelers. Because I try to keep it feeling, just like a group of buddies that are all on the same trip. And I just happen to be the one that booked everything. But and I hope that those who travel with me in the future will come home with that same feeling. It's been a great experience, and we've saw some really cool things, and they're ready to plan the next one and go back again.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear.
And while I'm gonna break the fourth wall here.
Okay.
On the Hunt for Fun, subscribe, follow, give them a like, comment on their videos. Do it now. Click the notification bell, all that good stuff.
Thanks, Joey. We appreciate you, man.